on your pouch that you have created, you need to write your name and your class hour. And then on that worksheet that you got, the Xacto knife cutting practice, you need to write your name.
With the knife?
And your hour. No. Sixth hour. All right, so we are going to talk about and go over Xacto knife safety and appropriate usage and practice. So we're going to be using this worksheet for practice so that we get used to cutting and using our Xacto knife right before we start going on our project. And you guys need to remember that I am going to be absent tomorrow and Wednesday because my husband is having surgery. And so you will have a sub here, and she isn't our person, so she should be able to help you, but I don't know how much she's done, no ton, okay? So what we're doing is we're kind of taking a break from our drawings right now, and we're gonna get most of this finished so that tomorrow and Wednesday, while I'm gone, you are gonna be working on your drawings by finishing out that little square on the front part of the worksheet, which is this part here. So you guys can kind of see that I had started, like I talked about last week, I started discussing with you how I kind of had an underwater scene and I have like this cave. Well, these are a bunch of rocks that are all piled on top of each other, and then I've got some seaweed in front of some coral. So I'm getting a little too complicated, okay?
Copy mine.
So yeah, I totally am.
Well, it looks just like.
So with this one, I'm getting a little complicated. I need to simplify it down, but I am at least using this to kind of figure out my spacing. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna flip this worksheet over and I'm gonna use this whole paper to lay out my design. Okay, so this is like pretty much as big as it's going to be for my project, and I need to think about my pieces being more than just thin lines, okay, and it needs to be a nice and challenging image, okay? So put a lot of thought into it. If it's not very challenging, then when I come back on Thursday, it'll get vetoed, okay? So be thoughtful with what you're doing, all right? So we're gonna segue here and we're gonna practice some of our Xacto knife safety. Now, first thing to say is I have exactly 30 Xacto knives. Before anyone can leave the class, I have to have all 30 of them back in my possession, okay? If they are not, you do not get to go until it is found, or they are found. So with that being said, I'm gonna give you guys like an extra minute per day to clean up, and the first thing you clean up is you bring me the Xacto knives. So you can just get that out of the way and then put all your other stuff away, okay? And I check before every class and I check after every class, so I know which class it's missing in, all right? So some of you may have different shaped Xactos. There's this one, which is the traditional kind of like scalpel-ish looking one. You've got this, there's this shape that's in there. And then let's see if I've got, and then there's this shape in there as well, okay?
We used one like this whenever we dissected frogs last year.
Yeah.
In my biology class. I'm not in sophomore year, and I can smell formaldehyde right now.
I've never,
No, like,
these are
like
ours.
it's
Oh, it's your
changed out.
memory, okay. Okay, so that's sensory memory trigger. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you use. This one's a little more challenging just because the blade is kind of curved. I prefer the straight edges myself, but that's just me. Okay, and then if you guys look at the blades, do you kind of see where on one edge the blade is kind of a little bit of a different color or a sheen? That is the sharp side, so that's the side that points down. Like I saw in 4th hour, someone had this blade, and the blade part is actually the curve, and I looked over a couple times and they were trying to cut like this, like with the blade side up.
If you push hard,
So,
it's possible.
and he was like putting his finger on the wrong, that was not good, okay? So, yeah, gotta be careful. Okay, all these blades are new. I've changed them all out, okay? And when we're using this, we're only using them on our paper. I don't wanna see you using them to cut up like strings or stuff on your clothes. I don't wanna see you using it to like get your fingernails all cleaned out. I don't wanna see you cutting glue bottles open. That can get you stitches. That happened with someone. They ended up getting 10 stitches because they were being, I'll just say it, an idiot, okay? They were opening up an Elmer's glue bottle like this. They were holding the glue bottle and it slipped and they cut all the way down here on their hand and ended up getting like 10 stitches. They bled a lot, okay? Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. All right, so the other thing is, you need to pay attention on where your phalange digits are, okay? Do not put them in the way of cutting. I've done that and I cut off the side of my finger and I did not leave enough skin to get stitches. They had to chemically cauterize it and that sucked. I'll tell you that right then and there, okay? So what I did is I was holding my fingers like this because I was cutting an edge and I had just bought the blade the day before and I went right there along this edge on this finger. That was not fun. I still can't feel the side of that finger, okay? And I almost bit a nurse. So don't do that. Xacto knives hurt. Well, she put her hand in the way and so, okay? So watch where your fingers are. I'm gonna show you how you hold this, okay? A lot of the times you guys will want to hold this more like point up or where you're working on the point. That's gonna break off the tip of the blade and it's gonna make it dull, okay? So to hold this, you actually kind of goes against your comfort a little bit, but you wanna hold it to where most of the blade is in line with your paper, okay? And then you also do not have to use a lot of pressure when you do this, okay? So when you're cutting, if you're using a ton of pressure, that's how you're gonna slip and nick and cut yourself. If you don't make it on the first cut, just go back and cut again and then maybe again. Sometimes it's with Xacto knife cutting, it's the rule of 3. Cut 3 times and make it nice and clean and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so the other thing, it is very awkward to cut horizontally. The best way to cut is you will position your paper, if you're right-handed, to where your lines go down and to the right. If you're left-handed, your lines should go down and to the left. Okay, so that you're cutting down, but you're also cutting away from your body because you could also slip and accidentally stab yourself that way. Okay, there's a lot of dangers to this, all right? Then, the other thing, you're not working at just your fingertips or your wrist. You're actually pulling your whole arm across your page or your project or whatever. Okay, so you're not working at your fingertips or your wrists. You're just gonna pull your whole arm. So you're basically gonna, once you place your Xacto knife and you make that first incision, you're just gonna keep your hand like a machine, keep it still, and move at your shoulder and elbow, okay? So let's go ahead and try with this line, and we're gonna just go one at a time through this, okay? So position this where it's comfortable. Make sure that your fingers on your opposite hand are out of the way. Position your knife onto this line to where a lot of the blade is parallel to the paper. You're gonna kind of stick that in there. You're gonna feel the mat underneath the paper, and you're just gonna drag your knife across this line. So what I'm looking for on this worksheet is that you have nice, clean lines, cleanly cut out shapes, and that you have followed on the black line as much as possible. So the way that it should work is I should be able to see like half of that black line left around shapes if you cut them out. Okay? Okay, so let's tackle the square. So it's basically just this line 4 times. So a lot of Xacto knife cutting is just all about making a cut. And then you stop once you get to an end point, pause, you rotate your mat around so that you keep it comfortable and you're not wrenching your arm in a bunch of different directions. Make that cut. Make that cut again. Make that cut. So me personally, I'm gonna miss points on this square because I went too far, like I cut too far here because I wasn't really paying attention, and I didn't cut on the black line very well. So like most of my shape that I cut out has most of the black on there, which I should still have some of it on the worksheet. That's me being really nitpicky, but I'm wanting you guys to really hone in and take your time and pay attention to this.
What about the ones that don't come out when you recut them?
That's some of them will kind of fold, so you're getting a little bit ahead of me. Okay, so this one, looks like a capital letter I. What I want to do is I'm going to do the top and the bottom of the I first, but I have moved my mat to where it actually turns into kind of the left or the right hand side. Those lines are parallel and they're in the direction that I need them to be comfortable. So I'm going to make those cuts first. So it doesn't matter if you start on the left or the right hand side. But I'm going to make those two cuts first. And then I'm going to flip my whole mat. And then make that cut down the middle. And then I can kind of fold this out. I think so, because I just changed all these blades out. Did your blade come out?
Yeah,
perfect.
Out
No, that's good.
Can't get it back in.
Okay. This is a teaching lesson for everyone. It's worked out where it's happened every class period. All right, guys. So here's how you fix a blade if it falls out. Okay. So if your blade falls out, your Xacto knife is made up of 3 parts. You have the handle, you have the outer finger grip, and then you have the inner part that actually holds onto the blade. The inner part that holds on the blade goes into the finger grip, and then it actually screws into the handle. And then you guys will see that you have like little openings up here at the top. That's where the blade actually goes. So everybody look, so that I don't have to fix this after this has happened to you. So if the blade falls out, you just unscrew that a little bit, stick it back in there. Then you have to hold both of these pieces together, and then you rotate the handle and you just screw it back into place, and then it should be good to go. Thank you. So that's how you fix Xacto knife blades if they fall out. Okay, so this shape over here on the right hand side, it's almost like a little window with shutters. Okay, so I just folded those 2 pieces out so that I can just kind of show that I made those cuts. All right? Okay, if it's not cutting through the first time, then you're probably not using enough pressure. And so either increase your pressure or just go over it 2 or 3 times until you do cut through. Okay, I just changed out these blades, so none of them should be dull. If you still have trouble, let me know. All right, now I'm going to go to the zigzag line. Now, when we draw zigzag lines, we would just do it all at one time, but with an Xacto knife, I'm just going to do the lines that are all facing the same direction first. So that means I'm going to kind of skip every other line. Then I'm going to flip my mat around and I'm going to cut the other ones. Okay, so I'm going to start here because these, for me, are pointing down and to the right, and I'm right-handed. So I'm going to start with these lines first. So I've cut those 2, skipped a line. So I'm going to skip a line, cut here, skip another line, cut there. And then I'm going to move my mat around to where there's other lines that I need, that they are facing down and to the right. And then I'm going to make those cuts. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold these pieces up. And I want to make sure that those cuts meet each other. So guys, if you don't make like a clean cut and you're like tearing your pieces apart to make them separate, you need to just make sure that your cuts meet at the corners or the inside edges, because you don't want to tear your pieces. because that'll make a messy project, because you need everything that you cut. You need the pieces that you cut, and then you need the paper you cut from. All right? Okay, what shape is this, guys? Do you know?
Octagon.
It's an octagon.
Stop.
Because it has 8 sides. Go ahead and tackle that one. So I would just do every side independently. So I would cut one side, and then I'd rotate my mat a little bit, and then I'd come back and cut. Now you don't have to pick up your Xacto knife every time. You can just make a cut, leave your Xacto knife in there, rotate your mat around with your other hand, and then that way you don't have to pick up your knife every single time. Or you can pick it up every time, whatever is more comfortable and easier for you.
This is nothing.
Oh, I really missed. Okay, I missed a lot of points on that one. I went way outside my lines there on the top part. How's my speed going so far? Am I doing okay? I'm going really fast? Okay, so I need to slow down. All right, so those of you that are a little bit ahead, I'll start on the starburst, but I'll cut it slow, so it'll give some of you time to catch up. On the starburst, on each little arm here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut like the right-hand side of every arm first, and then I'm gonna go back and cut the left-hand side of every arm so that I'm moving or rotating my mat around one direction the whole time, and then I do it the other direction the whole time. So on each arm, I'm just gonna cut the right-hand side out of each one. And I'll just work at cutting this one slowly to give some of you time to catch up. You what?
I'm honestly probably too tired to be doing this. Do not operate heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Or Xacto knives.
Yeah, it is kind of hard when you're sleep deprived. Drink some extra coffee in the next few days here.
Coffee.
Huh?
Don't drink coffee.
Well, soda or tea then.
Just kidding. I love coffee. Got you.
You're hilarious. Okay, now I'm going to do the left-hand side on every one of these arms. And you want to be careful because these arms are getting kind of delicate. So you're going to kind of watch your, the arms of these kind of peel up a little bit as you're cutting. And that's normal. Just go nice and slow. Make sure your other fingers are out of the way. And then just make sure you're rotating that mat around each time. Okay, I think I've got one left, maybe. Oh, nope. Now I only have one more left. Okay, guys, you might be noticing that when I cut out hole shapes, I take my Xacto knife and kind of lift that piece up to grab it. And then that kind of will show me if I have any points that are still connected, which I do on that star, just by a little bit. So I'm gonna resist the urge to tear it. Like right here, it's still connected. So I'm gonna resist that urge to tear it, and I'm gonna come back in and actually make my cuts meet so that I'm pulling that shape out clean. Okay. How's everybody doing so far?
Haven't cried yet.
Haven't cried yet. I mean, that's good.
Normally that's the standard I hold myself to.
All right. Is anybody hardcore struggling? Doing okay? Okay, just go slow. Yeah. Just go as slow as you need to. No, don't be. Don't be. Sometimes this makes your fingers hurt too, so sometimes you just need to kind of relax and stretch your fingers out a little bit. That's okay. All right, and then for time-wise, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep going, but I'll cut slow. So the next thing that we're starting to tackle are curves. Okay, curves are challenging in that you want to like rotate your wrists around, but really all you need to do is just keep moving your mat more. Okay, so curves are a lot of like cut, stop, rotate, cut, stop, rotate, cut, stop, rotate, and that's what gives you your nice curves. Okay, so I'm going to start on this little line here. I want to start where it is kind of starting to point down and to the right, and I'm just going to make a series of little cuts. So I've got one little cut here to where I'm not really comfortable anymore, and then I'm going to rotate my mat around, and then I'm going to continue on until I'm not really comfortable anymore. Then I'm going to rotate my mat again.
Can we rotate as we cut, or is that still?
You can, but really slow. You're more precise if you just stop and rotate and then continue on. I mean, if you get in a really good groove where you can rotate and cut at almost the same speed, then you're good.
Oh man.
But I haven't really got to that point yet. So I like to cut, pause, rotate, cut, pause, rotate. Oh, Lola, dang it. You gave it to me. Those are contagious. Now I'll probably be yawning from nonstop from now until the end of the day. Me too. All right, guys, so I got that curved line. I'm going to kind of fold those pieces up to show that I cut through those. Then I'm going to tackle this circle, and the circle is going to be like the same exact thing. I'm just going to make a small cut at a time, and I'll stop, and then I'll rotate. So I'll cut, pause, rotate, cut, pause, rotate, so on and so forth. Okay, so kind of what I'm doing is I'm kind of like pull, I kind of cut, then I pause and rotate. Pause and rotate. I'm just doing that all the way around. So I'm just still making a series of short cuts, even though it's a full circle piece. Kyle, you want a mint to wake up? You want a mint to wake up?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I can do it.
I can do it.
I've fallen asleep in every hour today except the first hour.
Ruh-roh.
But you fall asleep in every hour but first hour.
Yeah.
That makes
This first hour,
zero
I had
sense.
to, this first hour I had to present.
Okay. That makes more sense.
All right. Tackle your spiral. It's just like your circle. It's just kind of a continuous curving line, and you still just do that in small cuts.
Can I go to the restroom?
Yeah. Normally I don't want you to go during demos, but all right, guys, so for the spiral, I'm kind of doing the same thing, just doing little cuts at a time and rotating my mat around.
What time?
12:46.
There you go. All right, guys, got that spiral cut out there. Kind of pulling that out from the page a little bit to kind of show that I got it cut. And then, dang, you guys are awesome. We're probably gonna finish this worksheet out and you guys will be the only class that's finished it all the way. I know, surprise face me too. Not gonna say anything, but all right. Okay, now down here, what we're tackling is non-uniform lines, so an organic, pretty organic line and shape, and then we have a complex form that has two smaller pieces on the inside. And we're gonna kind of go opposite this round, and we're gonna try this complex form together. So if you're a little bit behind, why don't you stop where you are and meet me here at this complex form?
Wait, you want the people who are behind go to the more difficult one.
Yep. Just so that you're doing this one with me. Okay. All right, so if you have, and this will be true on your project too, if you have a shape that has a small piece in there and then you have a large piece to cut out, you always do the small pieces first. So on this complex form, we're gonna do these two inner pieces first, and I'm gonna start with the overall shape and then I'll do these side-by-side lines, and I like to start with the bottom first. So I'm gonna do this shape first. So we started that first line that was kind of down to the right, and then I'm gonna go to this curve. I'm just gonna make small cuts, and then I'm gonna rotate my mat. And make that small cut there. Then I'll come to this top shape up here. I'm gonna follow that line around. Okay, so I got that one. And then off of the two middle pieces, I'll get these straight lines that are right here and right here. And then again right here and right here. Okay, so this is a way that it's called stenciling, or where you make stencils. These two pieces need to stay in there to make this form, and so the strategy here is that you make a connection or like a bridge that connects into the larger piece of paper so that these inner pieces stay there without having to cut them out or lose them. You don't have to do that on your notan. I mean, you could cut these completely separate and you just got to keep those pieces. So that's what your little paper pouch is for. Okay, so I've done the inside there, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on these, the left-hand side. Do those two semicircles. So I cut and I pause often to turn my mat. Okay, and then on the other side, before I start going around this circle, I already have those positioned where a lot of these lines that I need to cut are down into the right hand corner. So a lot of these straight lines are in a position ready for me to cut, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut those first. Okay, and then I'll come around and cut the outside. You're going to have to kind of get your other fingers close to this one to kind of hold them in because it's getting kind of delicate. And then I'll cut these other straight pieces because I already cut the other side. Oh, missed points on that one. All right, and then I should have that whole piece cut out. All right, and then I'll just work backwards. I'll do the little organic form and then I'll do the line. Or you guys can go the other way if you want. You do the line and then little organic form. Just kind of going around this form, making sure that I pause frequently and turn my mat. Oh, missed points, recorrect. That one's not good. Okay, a lot of the errors that you guys are going to run into, you'll just notice it's because you just are going too fast. And then I can go ahead and finish this line out right here. Okay. And then my worksheet is complete. I kind of fold these areas up just to show that I cut there. And there you go, all done.